The massive council chamber buzzed with alien voices. 12 different species sat around the circular table, their strange forms casting odd shadows under the bright lights. Ambassador Lee Hyun-woo adjusted his tie and looked at the papers in front of him. 3 years. 3 long years of meetings and still nothing to show for it. Captain Park So-jin sat behind him, her military uniform crisp and clean. She watched the aliens with careful eyes. Her hand rested near her communication device, ready to send word back to Earth if needed. At the center of the table sat Counselor Veltar, a tall creature with blue skin and 4 arms. His species, the Nexari, controlled much of the galaxy's trade routes. He looked at Lee with what humans had learned was disgust. "So," Veltar said, his voice like grinding metal, "the young species comes to us again with their requests." Lee stood up slowly. He had practiced this speech many times. "Honored counselors, humanity comes before you today with a final proposal. We offer our knowledge, our resources, and our friendship. All we ask in return is equal membership in this great council." Several aliens made sounds that might have been laughter. Elder Quinmesh, the oldest being in the room, said nothing. His ancient eyes studied Lee carefully. "Equal membership?" Veltar's forearms spread wide. "You have been a spacefaring species for barely 200 years. We have civilizations older than your entire planet's written history." "Age does not determine worth," Lee replied calmly. "Humanity has proven itself capable. We have built colonies on dozens of worlds. We trade fairly with all species we meet. We have never started a war." "Never started a war?" Another counselor spoke up. "This one looked like a giant insect. Your species fights itself constantly. Your history is written in blood." Park leaned forward and whispered in Lee's ear, "Sir, new intelligence from the outer colonies. The council has been planning to block our expansion no matter what we say here." Lee's jaw tightened, but his voice remained steady. "Every species has a violent past. The question is what we choose to become. Humanity chooses peace." Veltar laughed, a harsh sound that echoed through the chamber. "Peace? You call it peace when you expand into 3 new systems just last month? You build ships faster than any species we have seen. Your military grows every day. We build ships to protect our people and our trade routes. Pirates and raiders do not care about our peaceful intentions." "Exactly our point," the insect-like counselor said. "You solve every problem with violence. You are barely evolved primates with delusions of grandeur." The chamber fell silent. Lee felt something cold settle in his chest. Around the table, alien faces showed agreement with the insult. Only Elder Quinmesh looked troubled. "I see," Lee said quietly. "And what does the council propose?" Veltar smiled, showing rows of sharp teeth. "We are generous. We offer humanity probationary status. For the next 500 years, you will serve the council's needs. You will provide raw materials and labor. Your ships will carry our goods. Your colonies will grow food for our worlds. In return, we will protect you and guide your development." 500 years of servitude, Park whispered. "Probationary membership," Veltar corrected. "After 5 centuries, if you prove yourselves worthy, we will consider full membership." Lee looked around the chamber. Every alien face showed the same expression. They had already decided. These 3 years of talks had been a show. Humanity would either accept slavery or face the combined might of the galaxy's greatest powers. "I need a moment to consider this generous offer," Lee said. He turned and walked to where Park sat. Behind him, the aliens began talking among themselves in their various languages. The sounds mixed together into a noise like static. "Sir," Park said very quietly, "we have reports from all sectors. Council ships have been moving toward our borders for weeks. This was never about negotiation." "I know." Lee gathered his papers slowly. Each page represented hours of work, months of hope. "Send a message to Earth, Code 7. Park's eyes widened. Code 7 meant total breakdown of diplomatic relations. "Sir, are you sure?" "Look at them, Captain. Look how they sit. They are not negotiating. They are dictating terms to creatures they see as animals." Lee stood and walked back to his place at the table. The alien voices quieted as they watched him. "Honored counselors," Lee began, "I have considered your offer carefully." "And?" Veltar leaned forward. "After 3 years of good faith negotiations, humanity sees clearly where it stands in your estimation." Elder Quinmesh shifted in his seat. The ancient being's many eyes focused on Lee with sudden interest. "We came here believing that wisdom and intelligence could be found among the stars. We hope to learn from species far older than ourselves. Instead, we find the same small-minded prejudice that has plagued thinking beings since consciousness began. You dare insult this council? The insect-like counselor rose from his chair. I insult no one, Lee said calmly. I simply state what I observe. You see us as children to be controlled, not equals to be respected. You offer us chains and call them gifts. He began placing his papers in his briefcase. Each movement was deliberate and calm. You cannot leave. Veltar stood as well. The council has not dismissed you. The council never intended to treat with us as equals. You have made your position clear. Humanity withdraws from these proceedings. Park stood and joined Lee. Around them, other human staff members began gathering their materials. If you walk out, there will be consequences, Veltar threatened. The council protects those under its guidance. Those outside its protection face a dangerous galaxy. Lee stopped and turned back to face the alien. Counselor Veltar, in the past 3 years, how many council ships have protected human traders from pirates? That is not the point. How many council fleets have come to our aid when raiders attacked our colonies? Silence filled the chamber. The protection you offer exists only in your speeches. Humanity has learned to protect itself. Elder Quinmesh spoke for the first time in hours. His voice was old and tired. Young human, think carefully. You are one species against thousands. Lee looked at the ancient being with something like respect. Elder Quinmesh, I have thought of little else for 3 years. We are indeed one species, but we are one species that has learned this truth. It is better to stand alone with dignity than to kneel among others without it. The human delegation walked toward the chamber's exit. Behind them, alien voices rose in argument and confusion. At the door, Lee turned back one last time. When you are ready to speak with us as equals, you know where to find us. Until then, farewell. The great doors closed behind them with a sound like thunder. In the chamber, Elder Quinmesh watched the sealed doors with growing unease. In his 800 years of life, he had seen this pattern before. Species that withdrew completely were either dying or preparing for something the galaxy was not ready to face. 6 months had passed since the humans walked out of the council chambers. Admiral Kim Taeho stood on the bridge of the battleship Iron Will, watching the last human transport ship disappear into hyperspace. Around him, his crew worked quietly at their stations. Admiral, that's the final evacuation from Kepler Station, reported Captain Park So-jin, now serving as his chief of staff. All human personnel and equipment have been withdrawn from council space. Kim nodded. The evacuation had taken months to complete. Every human colony, trading post, and diplomatic mission had been abandoned overnight. To the outside galaxy, humanity had simply vanished. What's the latest from council space? Kim asked. Director Yoon's agents report the council is celebrating. They believe they scared us off permanently. Kim almost smiled. Let them think that. It made the next phase easier. Dr. Choi Min-jung approached from the science station. Her lab coat was stained with grease and chemical marks. Admiral, the latest test results from the captured Nexari technology. She handed him a data pad. Kim read quickly, his expression growing more serious with each line. You're certain about these numbers? Completely. Their weapon systems are impressive, but they follow predictable patterns. Their ships are built for intimidation, not actual combat efficiency. Most importantly, their point defense systems can't track projectiles moving faster than light speed. Kim looked out at the stars beyond council space. Here, in the dark between galaxies, humanity had found something the council never bothered to look for. Ancient ruins, ships older than any known civilization, and most importantly, technology that worked in ways alien science couldn't understand. Dr. Choi, how long until the first prototype ships are ready? 3 more months for the testing phase. After that, we can begin full production. On the other side of the bridge, Director Yoon Jae-sung finished reading intelligence reports from his network of spies. These humans had stayed behind in council space, pretending to be traders or refugees. The council had no idea how deeply human intelligence had penetrated their society. Admiral, Yoon said, walking over with his reports. The council is already moving into former human territory. Veltar claims they're securing abandoned resources for the greater good. Of course they are. Kim's voice was cold. What else do our people report? Something interesting. Elder Quinmesh has been asking questions about human military capabilities. He's the only one who seems worried about our disappearance. Kim remembered the ancient alien from Park's reports about the failed negotiations. 800 years old and apparently the only one with any wisdom. Keep monitoring him. If anyone on the council figures out what we're really doing, it'll be him. The bridge doors opened and General Park entered, now wearing the uniform of the Human Defense Force. Behind her came several other officers, all carrying data pads and reports. Admiral, the training programs are ahead of schedule. Our pilots are mastering the new fighter designs faster than expected. And the Marines? Ready for anything. The new armor and weapon systems give them capabilities no alien force has ever faced. Kim walked to the large viewing window. Outside, he could see the construction yards where thousands of human workers labored around the clock. The ships taking shape there looked nothing like traditional human designs. They borrowed technology from the ancient ruins combined with innovations born from 3 years of studying alien weaknesses. General, what's our total force projection? Park consulted her pad. 400 capital ships, 1,200 cruisers, and over 5,000 fighters, all equipped with the new adaptive systems. Crew training status? 90% ready for deployment. The new tactics are different from anything we've used before. Kim nodded. The tactics had to be different. Humanity couldn't win a traditional war against the combined council fleets. But traditional war was not what they were preparing for. Dr. Choi spoke up from across the bridge. Admiral, we've made another breakthrough with the precursor technology. The AI systems are more advanced than we initially realized. How so? They learn, not just from data but from battle experience. Each engagement makes them smarter, faster, more unpredictable. Yoon looked up from his reports. That explains something our agents discovered in the ruins on Kepler 442. Signs of a massive battle, but not between the precursors and any known species. What do you mean? Kim asked. The damage patterns suggest they were fighting something that operated like machines. Precise logical attacks that followed mathematical patterns. The precursors' response was chaotic by comparison, but somehow more effective. Dr. Choi's eyes widened. The AI systems we've integrated, they're not just weapons. They're survival adaptations. The precursors were fighting something that could predict logical responses. Kim felt a chill run down his spine. Doctor, can you determine what they were fighting? I'm working on it. But Admiral, whatever destroyed the precursors, they were ready for it. These technologies we've found, they're not exploration tools. They're weapons of last resort. The bridge fell silent. Outside the windows, human ships continued their construction, unaware of the larger picture emerging from ancient ruins. Captain Park broke the silence. Sir, should we warn the council? Kim considered this. The same aliens who had dismissed humanity as primitive now faced a threat they couldn't imagine. The right thing to do would be to share this information. Not yet, he decided. We don't have enough data. And even if we did, would they listen? Director Yoon shook his head. Based on our intelligence, Veltar has convinced most of the council that humans are too proud to accept their generous offer. They expect us to come crawling back within a year. Let them think that. Kim turned back to his officers. Continue all current operations. Dr. Choi, I want daily reports on the precursor technology research. General Park, accelerate training schedules. Director Yoon, expand intelligence gathering. What are we preparing for, Admiral? Park asked quietly. Kim looked out at the stars again. Somewhere beyond the galaxy's edge, ancient dangers might still exist. And inside the galaxy, the Council's arrogance had created a power vacuum that something would eventually fill. We're preparing for whatever comes next, General. The Council thinks they've seen the last of humanity. They're wrong. As the meeting ended and his officers dispersed to their duties, Kim remained at the window. The human fleet was growing stronger every day. Soon, they would need to decide how to use that strength. The galaxy had made its choice about humanity's place in it. Now humanity would make its choice about the galaxy's future. And this time, they would make that choice from a position of strength, not as supplicants begging for acceptance. The exodus was complete. The real work was just beginning. Commander Bae Soo-jin watched the sensor readings from her position on the bridge of the stealth frigate Silent Thunder. 2 years had passed since humanity's withdrawal from Council space, and her ship had been patrolling the border regions for 3 months without seeing another vessel. Commander, Lieutenant Nam Ho-seok called from the communications station. I'm picking up a distress signal, multiple ships, about 2 light hours from our position. Bae moved to look at Nam's screen. The signal was weak but clear enough to translate. What's the situation? Looks like a council convoy under attack. 3 transport ships and 1 escort. They're being hit by, I count at least 6 pirate vessels. Bay studied the tactical display. The attacking ships bore the markings of the Crimson Nebula pirates, a group known for their brutality. The convoy's escort was already badly damaged. What's the convoy carrying? She asked. Nam worked at his station for a moment. Medical supplies, Commander. Looks like they're heading for the Etherian colonies. There's been some kind of plague outbreak. Bay felt her stomach tighten. The Etherians were one of the few council species that had shown any respect for humanity during the failed negotiations. They were also known for their dedication to healing and protecting the innocent. Commander, her tactical officer spoke up. Standing orders are to avoid all contact with council vessels. Bay knew the orders. Admiral Kim had been very clear. Humanity was not ready to reveal itself. The fleet needed more time to prepare for whatever was coming, but on the screen, she could see the convoy's desperate attempts to escape. The escort ship's shields were failing. In minutes, the pirates would board the transports and take or destroy everything aboard, including medicine meant to save children's lives. How long until the convoy is destroyed? She asked. 8 minutes, maybe 10. Bay closed her eyes for a moment. She thought about her own daughter back on New Sol Colony. She thought about the sick Etherian children who would die without those medical supplies. All hands to battle stations, she announced. The bridge crew looked at her in surprise. Commander? The tactical officer asked. We don't let innocents die, not even theirs. Helm, set course for the convoy, maximum speed. Commander, the stealth systems. Disengage stealth on my mark. Tactical, prepare for combat. Nam, open a channel to the pirate fleet. The silent thunder dropped out of hyperspace directly behind the pirates. For a moment, nobody moved. Then chaos erupted across all communication channels. Unknown vessel, identify yourself. The pirate leader's voice crackled through the speakers. This is Commander Bei Su-jin of the human vessel Silent Thunder. You will cease your attack immediately and withdraw. Laughter filled the channel. Humans? I thought you cowards ran away years ago. One little ship against my entire fleet? You're either brave or stupid. I'm hoping for brave, Bay replied. But I'm prepared for either. Last warning. Withdraw now. The pirate leader's response was to order his ships to attack. 6 heavily armed vessels turned toward the lone human frigate. What happened next would be talked about in pirate bars and military academies for decades to come. The Silent Thunder moved like nothing the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of the predictable energy weapon exchanges that characterized most space combat, Bay's ship launched a swarm of kinetic projectiles that curved through space on impossible trajectories. The pirates fired their energy weapons, expecting to overwhelm the small ship's shields. Instead, the beams scattered harmlessly off adaptive armor that shifted and changed with each hit. What kind of technology is this? The pirate leader screamed over the comm. Bay didn't answer. She was too busy coordinating her crew's precise attacks. Railguns fired tungsten slugs at near light speed. Missile pods launched smart projectiles that could change course mid-flight. Point defense systems shot down incoming fire with accuracy the pirates had never seen. Within 4 minutes, 3 pirate ships were dead in space. The other 3 were trying to flee. Nam, open a channel to the convoy, Bay ordered. A weak voice answered. It was an Etherian captain, clearly injured. Unknown vessel. Thank you. We thought we were dead. This is Commander Bei Su-jin. What's your medical situation? Bad. Very bad. We have supplies for the plague worlds, but my crew, half are wounded. Our medical bay is destroyed. Bay made another command decision. Transmit your medical data to us. We'll synthesize additional treatments and transfer them to your ship. You would do that? After how the council treated your people? Bay looked at the image of the Etherian captain on her screen. The aliens' large eyes showed pain and confusion, but also hope. Captain, what's your cargo? Medicine. For the children of 3 worlds, the plague. It's killing them faster than we can treat them. Then we help. Nam, get our medical bay working on those treatments. Engineering, prepare for ship-to-ship transfer. For the next 2 hours, the human frigate worked alongside the Council convoy. Human medical technology, enhanced by precursor innovations, produced treatments more effective than anything in the Council databases. As they prepared to separate, the Etherian captain spoke again. "Commander Bay, I don't understand. Your people were insulted by the Council. Why help us?" Bai thought about how to answer. "Captain, what's your name?" "Captain Temyaris of the medical vessel Healing Light." "Captain Temyaris, my daughter is 7 years old. If she were sick and medicine existed to save her, I would hope someone would help her, even if her government had been foolish." The Etherian was quiet for a long moment. "The children on these worlds, they did nothing wrong." "No, they didn't, and they don't deserve to suffer for adult mistakes." As the two ships prepared to part ways, Captain Temyaris spoke once more. "Commander, I will report this encounter to the Council, but I will also share something with you. The medicine you gave us. It's beyond anything we have seen. Your people have not been idle during your absence." Bay smiled grimly. "No, Captain, we haven't been idle." "Be careful, Commander Bay. There are forces in the Council who would not appreciate this kindness. They would see it as weakness. And what do you see it as? Hope. For the first time in years, I see hope." The Silent Thunder engaged its stealth systems and disappeared from sensors. But the convoy continued toward the plague worlds with medicine that would save thousands of lives. And in the Council chambers, Captain Temyaris would soon file a report that would change everything. The humans hadn't run away in fear. They had withdrawn to become something new, something more dangerous and more compassionate than the Council had imagined. Elder Quinmesh would read that report and understand what his younger colleagues could not. The humans were coming back. And when they did, the galaxy would never be the same. The Council chamber was in chaos. Voices rose in a dozen different languages as representatives argued over the reports flooding in from across the galaxy. Elder Quinmesh sat quietly in his seat, watching the panic spread among his younger colleagues. "Order! Order!" Councillor Veltar slammed his 4 fists on the table. "But we will discuss these incidents one at a time." Captain Temyaris stood at the center of the chamber, still wearing the medical uniform he had worn during his encounter with the human ship. His large Etherian eyes looked tired but determined. "Honored councillors," he began, "I have submitted my full report. The human vessel that saved my convoy possessed technology beyond our current understanding. One ship," Veltar dismissed, "one lucky encounter with pirates." "Councillor," another voice spoke up. "This was Captain Mordine of the trader vessel Swift Prophet. 3 weeks ago, my ship was attacked by raiders near the Centauri colonies. A human vessel appeared and destroyed 4 attacker ships in less than 5 minutes. More voices joined in. A mining station rescued from asteroid pirates. A passenger liner saved from slavers. Always the same pattern. Human ships appearing from nowhere, defeating threats that Council forces couldn't handle, then disappearing again." Elder Quinmesh finally spoke. "How many incidents have been reported?" A young Nexari clerk shuffled through his data pads. 47 confirmed encounters in the past 6 months, all following the same pattern. "They're building a network," muttered Councillor Zephian, one of the few moderate voices on the Council. "The humans aren't just hiding. They're protecting." Veltar's blue skin darkened with anger. "Protecting? They're showing off, trying to make us look weak." "Are we not weak?" The question came from an unexpected source. Professor Han Ji-yeon had been granted permission to address the Council based on her recent discoveries in the Outer Rim. The human scientist stood calmly despite being surrounded by beings who had dismissed her species. "You dare," Veltar began. "Councillor," Elder Quinmesh interrupted, "let her speak. The Council granted her this audience for a reason." Professor Han activated a holographic display above the chamber table. Ancient ruins appeared in the light. Structures clearly built by a civilization far more advanced than any current galactic power. 3 months ago, my research team discovered these ruins on a dead world beyond the galactic rim. We've translated enough of their records to understand what happened to them. The chamber fell silent. The ruins were clearly precursor technology, the legendary lost civilization that every species had searched for. The precursors called themselves the Guardians. They were a coalition of hundreds of species, much like your council. They ruled the galaxy for over 50,000 years. What happened to them? Zephian asked quietly. They were destroyed by something they called the Devourers, machine intelligences from beyond our galaxy that consume organic life to fuel their expansion. The hologram changed, showing star charts with entire systems marked in red. The Devourers move in cycles. They arrive, harvest everything organic, then withdraw to process their gains. The precursors fought them for over 1,000 years before finally falling. Veltar leaned forward. This is fascinating history, human, but what does it have to do with current events? Han's expression grew grim. Because they're coming back. Our deep space monitoring stations have detected the same energy signatures the precursors described. The Devourers will arrive within 18 months. Panic filled the chamber again. Several counselors spoke at once, their voices mixing into meaningless noise. Elder Quinmesh studied the human professor with his ancient eyes. You came here to warn us, he said. It wasn't a question. I came here to offer you a choice, Han replied. You can face the Devourers with your current military doctrine, or we can work together. Work together? Veltar laughed bitterly. After you abandoned us? After you've spent 2 years making us look foolish? The chamber doors opened with a deep rumble. General O Sungmin walked in alone, wearing the gray uniform of the Human Defense Force. He carried no weapons and brought no guards. Behind him, the doors sealed shut again. The council stared at the human general in shocked silence. No one had detected his approach. His ship had somehow penetrated the most secure system in council space without triggering a single alarm. Counselors, General O said calmly, I apologize for the dramatic entrance, but time is running short. Veltar stood up, all forearms trembling with rage. How dare you enter our sacred chamber uninvited? The same way 47 human ships have entered council space over the past 6 months, O replied. The same way we've been monitoring your communications, your fleet movements, and your defensive preparations. He walked to the center of the chamber where Professor Han waited. Above them, the hologram still showed the ancient precursor ruins. Professor Han's research is correct. The Devourers are coming. But she didn't tell you everything we've discovered. The hologram changed again. Now it showed technical specifications that made several council members gasp in recognition. The precursors weren't destroyed because they were weak. They were destroyed because they fought the Devourers the same way you would fight them, with energy weapons, with predictable tactics, with the arrogance of a superior civilization. General O gestured to the display. These machines learn from every encounter. They adapt to energy weapons by absorbing them. They counter traditional fleet formations by calculating optimal responses. They turn your own technology against you. And you know how to defeat them? Elder Quinmesh asked. We've spent 2 years learning how to fight them. Kinetic weapons they can't absorb. Unpredictable tactics they can't calculate. Most importantly, we've learned to integrate precursor technology in ways that create true unpredictability. O activated his own display. Human ships appeared in the hologram, but they looked unlike anything the council had seen. The designs were chaotic, organic, almost alive. These ships use adaptive AI systems that learn and evolve during combat. No 2 battles are ever the same. The Devourers can't predict what doesn't follow logical patterns. Counselor Zephian studied the ship designs with growing amazement. This technology, it should be impossible. It was until we learned to think like the precursors. They weren't just a military force. They were artists, dreamers, beings who valued creativity as much as efficiency. Veltar's voice was quiet now, almost broken. Why would you help us after what we did to you? General O looked directly at the Nexari counselor. Because it's the right thing to do. Because children on 3 worlds are alive today because we helped Captain Temyaris. Because the galaxy is bigger than our hurt feelings. He turned to address the entire council. The Devourers don't care about your politics. They don't care about our grievances. They see organic life as fuel, nothing more. We can face them divided and die, or we can face them together and live. Elder Quinmesh spoke into the silence that followed. General, what do you propose? A new alliance. Not the old council structure where some species rule over others, but a true partnership where each species contributes what they do best. Humans will share our adaptive technologies and unpredictable tactics. Other species can contribute their knowledge, their resources, their unique perspectives. And if we refuse? Veltar asked. O's expression remained calm. Then in 18 months, the Devourers will face the scattered defenses of individual species. Some of you might survive. Most won't. Humanity will fight regardless, but we'd rather fight alongside allies than beside graves. The council chamber fell silent except for the hum of life support systems. Outside the great windows, stars shone with ancient light, unaware that their organic children faced extinction. Elder Quinmesh stood slowly. His 800-year-old voice carried the weight of ages. I have seen civilizations rise and fall. I have watched species destroy themselves through pride and fear. But I have never seen wisdom like this from such a young people. He turned to face the other counselors. We have a choice, colleagues. We can cling to our wounded pride, or we can learn from our mistakes. The humans offer us not conquest but partnership, not submission but survival. The vote, when it came, was closer than it should have been, but wisdom barely won over pride. The darkness between stars suddenly filled with light. Massive shapes emerged from hyperspace, each one larger than a city. The Devourer fleet had arrived 3 months ahead of schedule, and they brought more ships than any intelligence report had predicted. Fleet Admiral Shin Da-un stood on the bridge of the Alliance flagship Unity's Strength, watching the tactical displays with grim determination. Around her, officers from 12 different species worked side by side, their various forms united by a common purpose. Admiral, reported Commander Yoon from the communication station, all Alliance fleets are in position. We have confirmation from Sectors 7 through 12. Devourer fleet composition? Shin asked. 2,000 harvest ships, 500 combat vessels, and something new. A command ship the size of a small moon. Shin studied the display. The enemy formation was perfect, mathematical in its precision. Every ship positioned for maximum efficiency, every movement calculated for optimal result. Just like the precursor records predicted, she murmured. Then louder, all ships implement pattern Chaos 7. Across the galaxy, the Alliance response began. But instead of the neat formations the Devourers expected, what emerged from hyperspace looked like controlled madness. Human ships darted between larger alien vessels in patterns that defied military logic. Etherian medical ships flew alongside Nexari battlecruisers, their healing technology modified to repair damage in real time. Insectoid fighters swarmed around human carriers in formations that looked random, but created overlapping fields of fire. On the bridge of the Devourer command ship, artificial minds processed this chaos and found nothing, no pattern to predict, no logic to counter. For the first time in their existence, the machines encountered something they couldn't understand. Target priority? Large vessels, came the mechanical voice across Devourer communications. But when they fired at the large Alliance ships, smaller vessels intercepted the beams with adaptive shields. When they targeted the small ships, the large ones provided cover with overlapping defensive fields. Admiral Shin watched the first exchange with satisfaction. Phase 2, Ambassador Kang, are you ready? Ambassador Kang Min-ho stood at the diplomatic station, surrounded by communications equipment linked to every Alliance ship. Ready, Admiral. All species commanders are standing by. Begin synchronized chaos. What happened next had never been attempted in the history of galactic warfare. 12 different species, each fighting according to their natural instincts and cultural methods, somehow created a unified response that was greater than the sum of its parts. Nexari ships used their traditional energy weapons, but fired them through human-designed prismatic arrays that scattered the beams into unpredictable patterns. Etherian vessels projected healing fields that not only repaired Alliance ships, but somehow disrupted Devourer targeting systems. The insectoid species brought their swarm tactics, but coordinated with human wolfpack strategies to create three-dimensional battlefields that the Devourers couldn't map. Every species contributed something unique, and humanity's gift was showing them how to blend those contributions into chaos the machines couldn't process. Incoming. Transmission from the Devourer. Command ship, reported the communications. Officer, put it through. The voice that filled the bridge was cold, mechanical, perfectly logical. Organic species. Your resistance patterns are unfamiliar. State your combat doctrine for analysis. Admiral Shin smiled grimly. This is Fleet Admiral Shin Da-yun of the Galactic Alliance. Our combat doctrine is very simple. We don't have one. A pause. For artificial minds designed to process logical responses, this answer created something resembling confusion. All organic species follow predictable patterns. Submit your tactical algorithms for processing. We don't use algorithms, Shin replied. We use intuition, creativity, and the random chaos of organic thought. You can't predict what we don't predict ourselves. The battle raged across 12 star systems simultaneously. The Devourers, following their perfect mathematical models, found their weapons absorbed by adaptive shields, their formations disrupted by unpredictable alliance movements, their targeting systems confused by ships that seemed to fly in patterns that changed mid-course. But the alliance was taking losses too. The Devourer harvest ships were converting destroyed vessels into resources for new combat units. For every alliance ship lost, the enemy grew stronger. Admiral, Commander Yoon reported. Casualty reports from all sectors. We're holding them, but barely, Shin nodded. They had always known this moment would come. Signal all commands. Begin Final Symphony. Across the galaxy, Alliance forces began the most desperate gamble in military history. Instead of trying to defeat the Devourers directly, they began hurting them. Every retreat was calculated to draw the machines toward specific positions. Every feint was designed to make the Devourers think they were winning. The artificial minds, programmed to pursue logical advantage, followed the retreating Alliance forces deeper and deeper into prepared positions. They couldn't understand that sometimes retreat was just another form of attack. Admiral, all Devourer forces are now within the target zone, reported the tactical officer. Ambassador Kang, send the message. Kang activated the galaxy-wide communications array. His voice reached every Alliance ship, every colony, every being fighting for organic life's survival. Citizens of the Alliance, he broadcast, today we prove something the Devourers cannot understand. We are not just individual species fighting for survival. We are one people, united not by conquest but by choice. Today we choose to live free. The final phase began. Every Alliance ship, from the largest battleship to the smallest fighter, suddenly changed course. Instead of fleeing the Devourers, they charged directly at them. But this wasn't a suicidal attack. It was something more beautiful and more terrifying than anything the machines could calculate. Human ships provided kinetic barrages that cleared paths for Etherian vessels. Etherian ships projected healing fields that kept everyone fighting long past normal endurance. Nexari battlecruisers used their energy weapons to power human equipment that had never been designed to work together. Each species fought according to their nature, but in harmony with every other species. The result was a symphony of destruction that turned mathematical precision into scattered debris. The Devourer command ship, its artificial minds overwhelmed by patterns they couldn't process, began to retreat. For the first time in their existence, the machines admitted defeat. Organic species, came the final transmission. Your combat methods are inefficient, but effective. We withdraw to reassess. As the surviving Devourer ships disappeared into hyperspace, cheers filled every Alliance bridge. But Admiral Shin felt no celebration yet. Ambassador Kang, signal all commands. Begin rescue and recovery operations. Priority to medical aid and ship retrieval. Elder Quinmesh appeared on the main screen, his ancient face showing something that might have been tears. Admiral Shin, in 800 years I have never seen such a victory, not just over an enemy but over our own limitations. Elder, this victory belongs to all of us. Every species, every ship, every being who chose to fight together instead of alone. As the Alliance fleets began their rescue operations, picking up survivors and repairing damaged vessels, a new kind of civilization was being born. Not one based on dominance or submission, but on the simple recognition that differences were not weaknesses to overcome, but strengths to celebrate. The galaxy had learned the most important lesson in organic evolution, that diversity, not uniformity, was the key to survival. And in teaching that lesson, humanity had found something even more valuable than acceptance. They had found their true purpose among the stars, not to rule or serve, but to help others become the best versions of themselves. The galaxy would never be the same, and for the first time in ages that was exactly what it needed.